Transition from one president to a new, very different president, I'm sure is always a heavy lift. I mean, think about like what the transition has been like at the EPA, right? President Biden's EPA chief is like the guy who ran the state version of the EPA in his state before this. And before that, he worked at the actual EPA in Washington. He's a pro. He's an environmental expert. He's been doing this work his whole life. Contrast him to the guy he took over from the Trump administration who had that same job. The guy who was running the EPA in the Trump administration was literally a coal lobbyist. Like, yeah, that's got to be kind of an abrupt transition, right? That's got to be kind of a change in course there. Transitions between really different presidents are hard. And in some of these agencies, it must be like night and day. But even with that stark contrast everywhere, imagine you're at the Justice Department right now. I mean, from the last Justice Department to this one, just today, we learned that before Trump left office, his Attorney General, William Barr, secretly obtained phone records from longtime Pentagon correspondent Barbara Starr at CNN. We've recently learned that under Barr, they did that to 3 Washington Post reporters who'd been reporting on Trump in Russia as well. The Justice Department now is no longer doing that, and they're letting it be known that the last Justice Department did this, and it was all approved under Bill Barr and not under the current administration. But they have to let that information be known now, and they have to clean up after it with news organizations who are obviously very angry that it happened. We also learned this week that under Bill Barr, the Justice Department subpoenaed Twitter to try to obtain the identity of someone who had been sending insulting, funny tweets about a pro-Trump Republican congressman named Devin Nunes. Congressman Nunes has tried multiple times to use lawsuits to go after people who've publicly criticized him. It really bothers him. But apparently, before Trump left office under Bill Barr, the U.S. Justice Department decided that they would enlist themselves to help him out, to demand that Twitter tell them who was being mean to Devin. The Justice Department, I mean, needless to say, that is not what the U.S. Department of Justice is built for. And now that it's the Biden administration, they've let it be known that they are dropping that, and Twitter does not need to answer that subpoena. The previous administration left behind also a dangling criminal investigation of former President Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. A document unsealed in that case today reveals that the FBI seized 18 different electronic devices from Giuliani's home and office when the FBI executed a search warrant against him last month. The lawyer for the previous president facing potential criminal indictment, having all his electronic devices seized by search warrant, that is not a normal thing that most Justice Departments have to deal with. Just tonight, since we've been on the air, in a new court filing, SDNY prosecutors say about the search warrants they executed in the Rudy case, they say this, quote, "These searches were the result of an ongoing multi-year grand jury investigation into conduct involving Rudy Giuliani, Victoria Tensing, and others." An ongoing multi-year grand jury investigation into the president's former lawyer. This is not the kind of thing that, new administrations usually have to clean up after. But cleaning up after this last batch of good fellas, it has been different. I imagine it is not just hard work. I imagine it has been weird work.